The kitchen smells like garlic and butter. Somewhere, a steak sizzles on a pan, beef, from a cow that spent its life eating grass. Nobody questions it. Nobody hesitates. It's just dinner. But across the table, imagine a different plate. Not beef, not chicken. Lion, wolf, eagle. The reaction would be instant. A flinch, a refusal, maybe even disgust. And yet, biologically, these are just animals too. Muscle, protein, fat. So what if the difference isn't really about taste? What if it's not about safety either? At least, not in the way you'd expect. And what if the real reason predator meat rarely ends up on our plates has less to do with the animal on the table, and more to do with an invisible law written into every ecosystem on Earth? Because somewhere between biology, chemistry, and instinct, there's a hidden mechanism deciding what's fit to eat, and it's older than agriculture itself. In 1913, deep in the ice fields of Antarctica, a French-Swiss explorer named Xavier Mertz was starving. Rations gone, his team began eating the only thing left alive around them, their sled dogs. Not the meat of grazing animals, but the meat, and specifically the liver, of working carnivorous dogs. Within days, Mertz grew disoriented. His skin peeled, his mind unraveled. He died in his tent, delirious, weeks before rescue arrived. For decades, no one fully understood why. Here's where it gets strange. Researchers later traced the cause to something called hypervitaminosis A, vitamin A poisoning. Dog liver, like the liver of many predators, stores extreme concentrations of vitamin A because predators eat other animals that have already concentrated it from their prey. Each step up the food chain, the toxin doesn't dilute, it multiplies. This is the same reason Arctic explorers have long known a single rule, passed down for generations. Never eat polar bear liver. A few ounces contains enough vitamin A to kill a grown adult. Indigenous Arctic communities, including the Inuit, discovered this the hard way, long before modern chemistry had a name for it. But if the danger is in specific organs, why avoid predator meat altogether? That's where the story shifts from biology into something closer to physics. In 1942, a young ecologist named Raymond Lindemann published a theory that would quietly reshape how scientists understood food itself. He called it the 10% rule. Every time energy moves from one level of a food chain to the next, from plant to herbivore to predator, roughly 90% of that energy is lost as heat, motion, metabolism, which means a predator's body isn't just muscle, it's the compressed, inefficient end of an entire chain of consumed energy. To grow 1 pound of wolf, you need far more than 1 pound of deer. To grow 1 pound of deer, you need many pounds of grass. Eating a predator, then, isn't just eating an animal, it's eating a memory of everything that animal ever ate. Concentrated, layered, repeated. And that includes more than energy. It includes toxins. Scientists call it biomagnification, the same phenomenon that, in the 1960s, nearly wiped out the bald eagle. Rachel Carson's research revealed how a pesticide called DDT, sprayed on crops in tiny, seemingly harmless amounts, moved into insects, then into fish, then into the birds that ate the fish. At the top of that chain, the concentration was thousands of times higher than where it started. Eagle eggshells grew too thin to survive. Entire populations collapsed. The predator wasn't poisoned by the environment directly. It was poisoned by everything beneath it. Now, something even stranger happens. If predator meat carries this hidden weight of accumulated toxins and parasites, trichinosis in wild carnivores, mercury in apex ocean predators like shark and swordfish, then avoiding it isn't superstition. It's survival math, encoded so deep into human behavior that it doesn't even feel like a decision anymore. But here's the twist that unsettles even seasoned researchers. This avoidance isn't universal. Some human cultures have eaten carnivorous animals. Bear in parts of North America and Northern Europe, certain fish-eating birds, historically, in coastal communities. So if the danger were absolute, these traditions shouldn't exist at all. which means something else is happening. Something psychological, not just chemical. In the 1980s, psychologist Paul Rosen at the University of Pennsylvania began studying disgust. Not as an emotion, but as a survival algorithm. He found that disgust wasn't randomly assigned. It clustered heavily around two categories: things associated with disease and things associated with predators or death. Rosen's experiments showed something remarkable. People didn't just avoid predator meat because of taste or nutrition. They avoided it because something ancient in the brain treats eater of flesh as a category worth fearing, a kind of instinctive respect or dread, passed down from a time when the line between hunter and hunted was terrifyingly thin. Which raises an uncomfortable question. Are we avoiding predator meat because of what it contains? Or because of what it represents? Because when you trace this thread far enough back, it stops being about biology and starts becoming about identity. Herbivores are, in most ecosystems, associated with abundance, fields, herds, renewal. Predators are associated with scarcity, danger, and death. To eat an herbivore is to consume the surplus of the world. To eat a predator is to consume something that has already consumed. A creature standing closer to us on the food chain than almost anything else we eat. In some cultures, that closeness felt less like food and more like cannibalism once removed. This is where everything changes. Because the same energy math that makes predators inefficient to farm, the 10% rule, repeating at every level, is the same reason humans, as a species, don't sit comfortably atop this chain either. We are, in ecological terms, one of the only species on Earth that eats both plants and animals across almost every trophic level, adjusting not by instinct alone, but by knowledge passed down through culture, ritual, and hard-earned death. Xavier Mertz didn't die because dog liver was inherently evil. He died because he was standing, unknowingly, at the collision point of two invisible systems. One chemical, one ecological, that had been quietly shaping human diets for as long as humans have hunted. So maybe the real question was never, why don't we eat predator meat? Maybe it's this: how many of our deepest instincts, the ones we call taste or disgust or tradition, are actually ancient scientific conclusions, encoded so long ago that we forgot they were ever conclusions at all? Somewhere, on a table, a steak still sizzles. Ordinary. Unquestioned. Safe. Because generations before you already asked the dangerous question and paid the price so you wouldn't have to. What other silent inheritances are still quietly deciding your choices, long after the reason has faded and only the instinct remains?